Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Velero community meeting for August 4th, 2020. We've got some status updates and contributor shout outs for this week, and maybe some discussion topics. So Ashish, looks like you've got the first status update.
I will go next. My neighbors are digging through concrete at the moment.
Oh, okay. For me, I was out sick late last week, so I don't have a ton to talk about, but my big thing is working on the DeleteItemAction design, which I can show here. I think this was a big topic 2 weeks ago in the community meeting. The thing to share here is originally I had this deletion plugins, and then I've now redone it with a DeleteItemAction plugin type. So if you're interested in this, I would ask that you come and take a look at the PR. And to be very clear, this is something we're implementing to get some support in for some vSphere products. Just want to be transparent with that. So that's been a big driver for what I've been working on. Also, something we're looking at is looking at different things we can do for our project management and release cadence, so that we can handle GitHub issues a little bit more quickly, and get fixes out more regularly. But we don't have really any concrete updates to share there, other than that we're talking about it. So that's what I have. And I also wanted to mention that Carlisia is on PTO this week, and she was working on migrating the ServerStatusRequest controller to kubebuilder. So those were her big topics. Ashish?
Okay, looks like they're still not done, but hopefully the noise shouldn't be too bad. For me, I am on community support this week. I have a list of PRs that I have to review, and some new issues that came in that need triage. So I didn't do that yesterday, so I'm going to do some of it today. Hopefully, make up for the stuff that came in yesterday. Other than that, I have been working on the restore hooks part. I have a PR which is kind of is in progress at the moment to implement the init container restore hooks. I've kind of in the PR, I have bundled it up with an existing restore item action that we have for pods. And now I'm thinking that it might make sense to make this its own restore item action plugin. So I might go in and switch that out. That's pretty much what I have in terms of status updates.
Okay. Anyone else? Stephanie, did you have anything?
I was on mute there. On the restore hooks, I wanted to make sure that we could get the PR for the product requirements merged, since we had internal review as well as community review on that. But otherwise, I think we're good there.
Okay, cool. We can take a look at that today. Okay. See, and so moving on to discussion topics. So I'll very quickly go into this Velero code thing. This is basically reiterating something we're going to touch on every community meeting. This is be a kind of a long running theme. We have this open issue at the top of our issues list, number 2654. If you've got any Velero code that you directly depend on in your own Go code, please let us know by a comment on this issue, because we will be moving a lot of this code out of package into, if it's not explicitly listed here, we will be moving it from package into an internal directory. So this is basically us taking some of our API and trying to intentionally make it into a public-private structure. And if you do use it, then we will try to work something out that will be accommodating. So this is just a real quick reminder. If you are using Velero code in your projects, please take a look at number 2654 in the issues. Next, so Andrew Reed, you had a question.
Yeah, I just looks like Ashish is making a lot of progress in the restore hooks. I don't know if you need any help with that this week, since you're on community support, or if you feel like you could finish it up on your own.
I have been working only on the init container part of it. So once I have this done, I might jump on the exec restore hook that we've designed. So far I'm okay doing this, but if you can pick up the exec restore hook part, let us know. And I also added you on the PR. So if you want to do a quick review for us, that will also be great.
Yeah, I can take a review on that. I mean, do you need help on the exec restore hook? It seems like you're making pretty quick progress. If you feel like you're good to just do it on your own for the 1.5 release, that's totally cool. But if you feel like you need some help, then I could take this week to work on it.
Sure. Nolan, you were about to say something.
I was going to say, Andrew, if you're offering, if you want to take 2731, I would say please do.
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
Yeah, that way, like I would say, let's if you've got the bandwidth and the time, please take 2731, and I can assign that to you. Okay. That way we can kind of keep things rolling. We can assign that to you, and if you comment on it, I can do the assign. Okay. Thing.
Yeah, I'll do that.
I don't think these two need to be done in strictly serially. But I think that would help get these two done and free up time for testing. Does that work for both of you?
Yeah, I think I added some scaffolding that the two can share. It's part of my 2787 PR. So feel free to take a look at that, and kind of if you feel we can reuse some of it, we can coordinate it that way.
Yeah, and if that needs to be pulled out into a separate PR, like if parts of the parts of 2787 maybe need to still be tested, but the scaffolding would be helpful. Maybe we can split it up. But if you do want to coordinate on the Kubernetes Slack for that, and ping me on what could be done to speed this up, or not speed this up, but to make it so you can work in parallel. I can help accommodate that. But yeah, Andrew, absolutely. If you're offering to help, I would say that yeah, we could definitely use the help.
Yeah.
Thanks for the offer, Andrew. It's a valuable feature for Velero, so we really appreciate the help. And Ashish, great job so far with all the work on the restore hooks. Nolan, thank you for the work breakdown structure that helps us make sure we can have multiple contributors. So it's great.
Yep. Yeah, and this week I'm hoping to get a breakdown for the delete item actions. I'm hoping the implementation will look very, very similar to it will look similar to restore item actions. So hopefully the work won't be too dissimilar, but I don't know that for sure yet. I need to flesh out that doc and get it closer to merging. Merging this week may be a little slow because our settings on GitHub do require two maintainers to approve, and carlisia is on PTO this week. So just giving that heads up to everyone that there's two of us on board. So if one of us submits a PR, if one of us submits a PR, we can't make it go through. But yeah. The hope this week is we move forward on restore hooks and the delete item action.
Yeah, hopefully the restore hooks, most part of the restore hooks should be done this week.
Cool.
So let's see.
Any other discussion topics folks had?
I actually do have one question. So this is in regards to the process you just outlined here. When people are on PTO or otherwise not able to help out with code reviews, do we have something to kind of mitigate that? Do we have a shorter period where we approve PRs with just one reviewer?
I think considering that this is just a week, we don't have, if it was for a longer period, then we might relax that constraint. And also that said, there is nothing preventing us from merging PRs right now. We can always override the to reviewer requirement.
Okay, good. So if something needed to get in, we can still get it in.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
And I guess I'll also say, like, the 3 maintainer thing is not permanent. Like that's not a situation anyone wants to be in right now. So that's going to be changing, but it's the current state of things. Yeah, for the time being, unfortunately, that's how it is. And like she said, we could if it's absolutely necessary, like if we had security vulnerability or we had a bug that was like deleting data or that kind of thing, we would go in and override that. So we're not going to be so rigid as to say, oh no, we're gonna block that. So, but I think that's an absolutely valid question, and I guess that brings up another point that we have. I'm forgetting where it's at. You might know. So we have this governance. We have this list of maintainers, and we have the governance file for how one may become a new maintainer. For folks interested, excuse me, I would say please read over this And if you're interested, reach out to myself, Ashish, or Carlisia and let us know. This is a role where we're asking you to be a more active member of the community and do things like review PRs, help with community support, that kind of things. So this would be an avenue if you would like a bigger say in Velero. This is a way to do it. So that is, for everyone, that's a way to mitigate this, but also this is an opportunity for other folks to step up. And I see Caleb Case, you have some questions. I would say this is the right venue, and the discussion topics is the right time.
Oh, perfect. Hi, I'm Caleb from Storj Labs, and we are, recently we merged, or we built out like a community provider for Storj Labs, but it only does the object store portion of things. And we are trying to figure out what the best path forward for building out a volume snapshotter is. And we had considered two paths so far, and maybe there are others we should look at. The first was to try to, so we have an integration with rclone, and so we also had considered using your restic beta as a way to accomplish this. That's one path. The other path we were looking at was potentially doing something where we treat the PV as like a block device and take just like a snapshot of all the data out of it directly, but it's not entirely clear how we would do that, or whether or not that makes sense, because it seems to deviate a little bit from your native volume snapshotters like the AWS one or the GCP one. So what guidance do you guys have for us? What should we be looking at doing?
So Storj, so I guess to talk a little bit about how the current volume snapshots work. Those are kind of designed to interface with a cloud platform that is providing a persistent volume. So it's meant to say, hey, you're the platform that's giving volume, and I'm going to use your native APIs to do whatever snapshotting support you have. So
Right.
that was kind of their intended use. I know, I think it's the current implementation of the vSphere plugin does some other stuff where it has like it has that plugin that does that, but it also has a daemon set that's hanging off the side. So like on the node, it does a snapshot, and then it has a daemon set that will copy that snapshot off the node up into object store.
Okay.
So the plugins don't strictly, you don't have to strictly implement it as we've got it. I'm not fully familiar with Storj other than I think Storj is largely object storage.
Yep.
Right. You don't present persistent volumes to Kubernetes, right?
No.
So
Okay.
are you interested then in backing up like any Kubernetes volume into your object store platform?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So we've been working with vendors on vSphere with this mode where the vSphere plugin, as Nolan mentioned, internally has a data mover set. And there's a CRD API between the plugin proper and the data mover, so that this is actually, we're moving towards making this actually be pluggable. And longer term, we're looking at moving this up into Velero. So Velero, as it currently stands, basically says, hey, storage system, you take care of all this under the covers. And we're doing that for vSphere, but I think we want to be able to enable the same kind of behavior for EBS and Google Cloud, et cetera, where Velero can take a snapshot, but then there's actually a way to extract the data and move it somewhere else. So we can, I think we need to talk about how this would become more of a Velero thing in terms of data movement being something that Velero actually knows about and manages and has some APIs on. But we can have that conversation and look at what makes sense. I mean, right now, one thing you could do is like we've implemented like a backup item plugin, but you'd wind up having to call either the volume snapshotters or something else to get the system specific snapshot behavior.
I see. So this is like, that would be like a tier 2, like you do a normal snapshot and then you would take like a tier 2 backup of that somewhere else.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I think where you want to go is so the restic stuff is not really crash consistent. So if the applications aren't quiesced, you can potentially wind up with a corrupted backup.
Right.
And certainly at the block level, you really, really need a snapshot. Otherwise, God only knows what you're going to get.
Right. Okay.
You mean to say the restic backups are not app consistent, but crash consistent?
They're not even crash consistent.
Okay.
I mean, unless you call the execution hook, right? I mean, if there's an application that's running and updating files, writing files, restic doesn't stop. So if restic's reading forward and your application is writing backwards, you get junk.
Right.
Right, unless you freeze
Right.
somehow with FS freeze or pause the application or whatever.
Right. So you really need to have some way to lock everything down. Yeah, I think
I was going to say, you guys don't have any mechanism for, taking advantage of, like a BetterFS snapshot or something to like freeze the file system in place?
Not right now, no. The closest thing is like a backup exec hook that would run an arbitrary command. So if you knew what the container's file system was, you could do something like ButterFS. We have some examples for FS freeze, but yeah.
Do you want to take a block level backup or a file level backup?
I mean, the goal is to take any kind of backup, really.
Yeah.
I mean, either one is actually acceptable initially.
So, I mean, because I would believe that a BetterFS snapshot is actually not going to freeze the storage. It's going to give you a snapshot, a tree that's frozen.
Right.
So you're going to do so file level backup is what you would do with that, and that's fine. We've got some other projects underway that we have some file system snapshotting technology coming down the road from the vSphere side.
Okay.
But it's strictly for our own implementation. So figuring out how to make that a more generic setup would be a good thing. And we've got another project running, the Astrolabe project, which is trying to become more of a generic plugin API. So I think let's continue with the conversation, and what's your time frame for getting something done?
I mean, we were actively, always. We were actively working on it, and we have people particularly interested in using it. So the sooner the better, I think. But do you have time to discuss this more this week or next week?
Yeah, I do, and I don't know about. I think I won't speak for Nolan.
I would have to double check my calendar. I don't know. Okay. I can probably see. Stephanie would probably be interested too. I don't want to speak for her, but Stephanie handles product stuff, and I think she would be interested to hear use cases.
Yeah, we can. I'm absolutely happy to work with you all on defining some of these use cases so that we can get it on the backlog.
Yeah, that would be great. Have you already been in touch with Kevin?
I have been in contact with Kevin, but if we can start a new thread on this piece, I think that'd be great.
Yeah, I'll make sure that happens. And
Thank you.
if you could, yeah, get all the other people, Nolan, and I didn't catch the other person's name.
Dr. Marie, Dave.
Dave.
Awesome. Well, thank
Thanks,
you. This
Kim.
is great. This is really helpful.
Yeah, I think I think this is to kind of generify this, if that's a word, is we're looking at maybe a data movement, some sort of data movement in Velero, support for data movement. But maybe that's not right. I don't know. But for examples right now, it looks like we've got the vSphere plugin and the EBS plugins have their own data movers.
Does the EBS plugin have a mover?
That is what Mayank said in chat. I am no expert on it, so I don't know.
I thought all that
if
stuff,
Mayank-
because there's only a couple hundred lines of code there. I thought everything was handled inside the EBS, inside of EBS.
No, actually, we have in Velero plugin data movement for AWS and
Oh,
GCP.
Open EBS, not AWS EBS.
Yeah, Open EBS.
Okay. Well, we'll take a look at both of those and see. So you said in vSphere and in this one. And the data mover is like a second tier thing, right?
Yeah, our implementation has it as a standalone, well, not quite standalone, but it's separate.
Okay.
Yeah,
And there's
it's a
also
data
the you might be interested in the Kubernetes Data Protection Working Group, because we're hashing through a bunch of things there, and we're looking for lots of people to contribute and join.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you for your feedback. I'll make sure that we get something organized for follow-up. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. Okay. Any more discussion topics? Okay, cool. I'm going to move on to the contributor shoutouts. I think there's some overlap here. I have a few days of overlap on my little script that grabs these. So apologies if there's duplicates, but so starting from the top, which is on the core Velero repo, Genting added a flag when creating backup locations. This adds the CA cert flag for backup location create, so you can add custom certificates to your backup locations. And everything else is for the Helm chart, which this has been really great to see a lot more contributions here. We've got a fix for Helm upgrade to correct the BSL, the backup storage location and volume snapshot location configurations. I think this one was from last week. Apologies if this is a duplicate. Yes, that's from last week. Elite Tog provided a way to set pod labels to label the running pods on Velero. Looks like this was useful for their log management. K Younger fixed an issue. Yes, with putting the service account on the daemon, on the Rustic daemon set. Fred Gate added some log configuration to Rustic. Cesar Kuti or Okuti added schedule labels for, looks like AWS snapshots. Not sure exactly what that did. And finally, Sikot's Bauer added affinity to the Velero deployment. I think this was node affinity, if I read it right. So yeah, those were the community contributions that we saw come through in the last roughly week. So thank you everyone who contributed there. And thank you to Jen Ting and Carlos for helping out on maintaining the Helm chart. Very much appreciate that. And I think with that, we've covered everything that we had on the agenda, unless anybody else had any last minute things. All right, cool. Well, if that's the case, then we can give about a half hour back.
Awesome.
Thanks very much, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.